The battlefield was already dead when the human soldier made the decision that should have been impossible. His armor was failing. His body was breaking. And behind him, an alien commander was trapped beneath the same weapon that had erased entire defenses in seconds. The sensors recorded every lost system, every failing breath, every fraction of power spent to keep another life from disappearing. Then the final choice arrived. Welcome to Intergalactic Untold. Now, let's begin the story of the soldier who refused to leave anyone behind. The evacuation order had been withdrawn 9 minutes ago. Elias Voss was still inside the collapse zone. His visor displayed the same warning every few seconds. Area lost. Return to safe corridor. The message was correct. That was the problem. The battlefield no longer had a front line. No organized formations. No reliable rescue routes. Only damaged structures, failing machines, and scattered signals that appeared for seconds before disappearing. Elias moved through the remains of an orbital transport station with one hand against the wall. His combat suit compensated for the movement. Barely. The left arm actuator responded 3 seconds slower than his right. Internal temperature regulation was already reducing performance to protect the remaining systems. He had seen better equipment fail. He had seen better soldiers fail. The station had not collapsed all at once. It had been dying in pieces. A support frame had separated. A power relay had burned out. A section of artificial gravity had shut down. Every failure had forced another decision. His scanner detected a weak human life sign beneath the transport wreckage. The signal was unstable. Elias stopped. The tactical display marked the location. Distance from extraction corridor, 8 miles. Estimated collapse time, for minutes. Estimated survival probability, low. He looked toward the corridor, then toward the signal. The choice was already made. He changed direction. The transport frame blocked the path. A section of reinforced alloy had folded across the entrance. The material had been designed to survive orbital stress. It had done its job. Now it was trapping someone. Elias attached a damaged cutting tool to his glove. The tool activated, then displayed a warning. Insufficient power. He removed the external battery from a damaged sensor unit nearby and connected it manually. The tool came alive. For 30 seconds. Enough. The cutter vibrated through his glove as it worked. The smell of burned insulation entered through his damaged filtration system. His visor adjusted the air quality reading before the warning disappeared. The opening was still too small. Elias pushed again. The actuator in his left arm protested. Power draw increasing. Structural damage risk. He changed position instead of forcing more strength through the failing mechanism. A different angle. A different load. The metal moved. Inside the compartment, a human technician was trapped beneath a collapsed support brace. Alive. Barely. Elias cut the brace. The technician looked at him through a cracked helmet. Are we getting out? Elias checked the surrounding structure. Not much, but enough. Move when I tell you. The answer was not comforting. It was useful. The technician followed. They reached the outer platform seconds before the transport section collapsed. The impact sent a low-frequency shock through the station floor. Loose fragments drifted upward when gravity failed, then dropped again when emergency stabilizers recovered. Elias pulled the technician behind cover. The suit recorded his increased heart rate. He ignored it. The recovery drone arrived overhead. Its camera scanned the area. No active extraction route. Elias looked at the destroyed corridor. Find another. Available routes do not meet survival threshold. The drone displayed the calculation. Elias studied the number. A fraction, not a conclusion. Keep searching. The drone processed the command. Probability remains unfavorable. Elias turned away. Still searching. The machine followed. Not because the odds changed. Because the command did. Hours later, the battlefield became quieter. Not safer. Quieter. The remaining fires cooled. The damaged structures stopped moving. Automated systems continued shutting down sections that no longer mattered. Elias walked through the abandoned edge of the settlement. His mission clock was meaningless now. His unit channel was silent. The war had moved somewhere else. Then his scanner detected another signal. Weak. Buried. Unknown. The sensor identified the equipment signature. Aurelian. Elias stopped near the collapsed command structure. The designation remained. Enemy. The battlefield did not care about history. Only decisions. The structure above the signal shifted. The scanner warned of imminent collapse. Elias looked toward the open route behind him. Clear. Safe enough. Then he looked back at the buried signal. He stepped forward. The debris moved beneath his hands. His suit temperature climbed. His damaged arm slowed. The structure groaned. Elias kept working. The signal beneath the wreckage changed. A pulse. Alive. He removed another section of broken alloy. A piece of unfamiliar armor appeared beneath the dust. Aurelian Valkyrie class. High-ranking. The kind of person his former commanders would have called valuable. The kind of person the battlefield had abandoned. Elias cleared the final obstruction. The warning system reached its limit. Structural collapse imminent. He reached inside and pulled the stranger free before the ceiling came down. The alien's armor moved before she did. A defensive response. Automatic. Elias stepped back as the Valkyrie's damaged gauntlet lifted toward him. The weapon system inside her forearm attempted to activate. It failed. A dim red pattern spread across the cracked plating. No power. No threat response. No recovery. The warrior looked at the failed weapon indicator. Then at Elias. She understood the situation before he explained it. Your systems are offline. The translator carried her voice through slight distortion. Elias glanced at the unstable structure above them. Most of them. The answer was incomplete. Not because it was unclear. Because there was no time for more. The command structure shifted. A deep vibration moved through the debris around them. The ceiling supports adjusted. Then failed. Elias looked toward the nearest stable route. Can you walk? The Valkyrie tested her armor. The suit responded. Then stopped. Her display showed the result. Structural support unavailable. Not efficiently. Elias looked at the damaged armor. That wasn't what I asked. Her helmet turned slightly. A small delay. She understood the difference. Not without assistance. Elias moved to the debris beside her. He removed a broken support brace and pressed it against the damaged section of her armor. The material was wrong. The shape was wrong. But the pressure distribution improved. The temporary fix held. The Valkyrie watched his hands. You modified military equipment without authorization. It was broken. That does not make it yours. Elias secured the brace. It makes it available. The structure above them groaned. A warning appeared on both systems. Remaining stability, 90 seconds. They moved. Not quickly. Carefully. The corridor outside the command structure was partially exposed to the station exterior. Artificial gravity fluctuated in uneven waves. Small fragments drifted near the ceiling, then fell when emergency stabilizers corrected the imbalance. The Valkyrie moved with controlled precision. Even damaged, she was trained. Elias noticed. She noticed him noticing. Neither spoke. The corridor ended at a maintenance junction. A damaged emergency beacon sat inside an old equipment housing. The same signal that had brought Elias there. The Valkyrie scanned the device. This is not a human beacon. No, then why did you follow it? Elias looked at the damaged signal. Because someone was still here. The answer was simple. Too simple to classify. Her armor recorded it. She did not comment. The beacon released another transmission. Not a rescue call. A warning. Elias opened the damaged receiver. The message contained fragments. Energy pattern. Target acquisition. Adaptive system. The Valkyrie's posture changed. Small. Controlled. But different. Her sensors detected electromagnetic changes beyond human perception. The battlefield outside was becoming active again. What is it? She studied the data. A weapon platform. Human. No, that answer carried weight. She accessed the remaining tactical files from the beacon. The system reconstructed a partial identification. Adaptive laser platform. Strategic class. Elias studied the information. Range. Unknown. Time. Her armor calculated. Short. The corridor lights dimmed. Another power section failed. The beacon continued transmitting. The weapon outside had not found them yet. But it was searching. Elias checked the remaining routes. The Valkyrie checked the failing systems. Neither had enough resources. Neither had enough time. The damaged station surrounded them. And beyond its broken walls, the adaptive laser continued learning how to find them. The emergency beacon continued transmitting from the maintenance junction. Not a rescue signal. A warning loop. Elias studied the damaged receiver while the Valkyrie stood beside him, her armor projecting layers of incomplete data into the air. The information was fragmented. Energy fluctuations. Target acquisition patterns. A weapon preparing for another engagement. The station had become a sensor, and they were inside it. Elias disconnected the beacon from the external antenna. The transmission stopped. The Valkyrie turned toward him. You removed our warning. I removed our location. Her armor processed the decision. Less information. Less exposure. A different risk. She accepted the calculation. That was different. Elias moved toward the maintenance controls. The old facility still had limited power. Not enough for defense. Enough for sensors, doors, and environmental systems. Barely. The Valkyrie followed. Your species abandoned this facility. Elias opened a damaged access panel. Probably. Yet you know how to use it. Old systems survive. Her helmet turned toward the walls. The facility carried both designs. Human emergency engineering. Aurelian military infrastructure. The combination was unusual. Not impossible. Just forgotten. She scanned the markings. My records do not show joint human Aurelian facilities in this region. Your records are incomplete. The statement was not an accusation. Only an observation. Elias connected his terminal to the local network. The system responded slowly. Most files were corrupted. A few remained. Structural maps, power distribution, emergency protocols, and a partial record of the weapon outside. The Valkyrie moved closer. The tactical display reconstructed the laser platform. It was smaller than expected. That made it more dangerous. Large weapons required large systems. This one required prediction. The model showed previous engagements. Defensive fields activating. Armor responding. Energy output adjusting. Each defense creating another change. The Valkyrie studied the sequence. The platform adapts. Elias expanded the response pattern. It learns from resistance. Her sensors recalculated. The result appeared across her display. The weapon was not simply powerful. It was efficient. A dangerous distinction. A vibration moved through the station. The floor shifted. The gravity stabilizer corrected a moment later. Loose tools moved across the maintenance bay before restraints activated. The Valkyrie tracked the disturbance through electromagnetic changes before the physical failure appeared. Another impact. Elias checked the external readings. Not yet. She looked at him. You detected it before my system. Your system detected the field. And yours? The structure. The answer was practical. Different sensors. Different experience. Neither system measured the same problem. A warning appeared. External power source detected. The weapon was closer. The Valkyrie accessed her damaged combat systems. Her armor returned the same result. Critical failure. Elias noticed. You need a power source. I need functioning equipment. Same problem. She looked at the damaged rifle beside her. The weapon had almost no charge remaining. Her armor had even less. Elias opened an emergency storage compartment. Inside were old components. Human design. Low grade. Reliable. The Valkyrie examined the parts. These cannot restore military systems. No, then why use them? Elias selected a power regulator. Because we don't need military systems. The statement changed her assessment. Not trust. Not yet. But calculation. She stopped measuring him as a damaged soldier with outdated equipment. She began measuring him as someone who understood failing systems. They worked beside the maintenance console. Elias repaired the emergency power line. The Valkyrie adjusted her armor interface to communicate with the human system. The first connection failed. The second produced unstable results. The third held for 6 seconds. Then the system rejected the combined load. The Valkyrie studied the failure report. Your hardware cannot support my interface. Your interface is drawing too much. The answer came immediately. Technical. Precise. They separated the connection before it became another failure. Outside, the weapon continued searching. The station's remaining sensors tracked its movement. The Valkyrie watched the numbers change. Her own systems identified the threat faster than before. But the conclusion was worse. The weapon had not fired. It was waiting. Elias looked at the data. It knows we are here. Not yet. He looked toward the damaged walls. Close. The Valkyrie checked the remaining exits. All but one required crossing exposed sections. The last route passed through the old command level. A location with unknown structural stability. She marked it. Elias saw the route. That's the worst option. It is the only option. He looked at the map, then at her. A few hours earlier, she had been an enemy designation. Now she was another person making the same calculation. No good choices. Only available ones. They moved toward the command level. Behind them, the emergency beacon remained silent. Ahead, the facility waited. And outside, the adaptive laser continued learning from every mistake the battlefield had already made. The command level had not collapsed. It had almost collapsed. That difference mattered. Elias entered the corridor first, scanning the structure before moving forward. The damage around them showed the result of repeated stress. Support beams had shifted. Internal locks had frozen halfway through their cycles. Power systems had failed in different sections at different times. The facility remained standing because failure had arrived unevenly. A temporary advantage. Nothing more. The Valkyrie followed behind him, her damaged armor sensors still active. Her movements were controlled, but slower. Elias noticed the delay. He said nothing. She noticed him noticing. She said nothing either. The command level waited at the end of the corridor. The doors opened after 3 attempts. Inside was a tactical chamber filled with inactive consoles. Human interfaces stood beside Aurelian systems, separated by years of software decay. The room was not a monument. It was a machine waiting for parts that would never arrive. Elias connected his terminal to the nearest station. The system responded slowly. Most files were corrupted. A few remained. Structural maps, power distribution, emergency protocols, and fragments of the weapon record. The Valkyrie examined the tactical network. Your access is limited. Most of it is damaged. That was not my point. Elias looked at the corrupted files. No. She stepped toward another console and activated her own interface. The system rejected her. Military authorization unavailable. The result appeared across her armor. Elias noticed the missing command privileges. He understood what it meant. A soldier without support. A commander without command. Neither had the position they once relied on. The room vibrated. The tactical display refreshed. External weapon approaching. Elias opened the combat records. Previous encounters appeared. Aurelian defense fields. Human barriers. Automated countermeasures. Each response failed differently. The Valkyrie studied the sequence. Our defenses delayed it. Yes. She waited. Elias expanded the response pattern. No, the distinction changed the data. The weapon was not simply overcoming stronger defenses. It was learning from predictable reactions. Every shield activation, every countermeasure, every energy adjustment, each one became another piece of information. The Valkyrie reviewed the sequence through her own sensors. The conclusion formed slowly. The problem was not insufficient power. The problem was adaptation. A vibration moved through the chamber. The first external impact reached the facility. Emergency lights activated. The gravity system corrected a sudden imbalance. Loose fragments moved across the floor before restraints engaged. The Valkyrie tracked the disturbance through electromagnetic changes before the physical failure appeared. The facility was losing another support network. Time was decreasing. Elias accessed the remaining shield module. Operational. Barely. The Valkyrie saw the same information. It can reinforce this section. Elias checked the energy cost. It can. She understood the missing part. The shield would consume power from other systems. Life support. Sensors. Emergency movement. Every defense would remove another option. The Valkyrie opened the shield interface. Elias looked at her. If it fails, it provides data. That is not enough. She looked at the battlefield model. It may be. The shield activated. Power redirected through the facility. Temperature regulation reduced. Non-essential systems shut down. The defense field formed around the command level. For a brief moment, the structure stabilized. Then the laser struck. The shield absorbed the impact. The system analyzed the attack. The weapon adjusted. The display changed. Defense pattern recognized. Elias watched the numbers. The shield was not failing because it was weak. It was failing because it had revealed too much. The field collapsed. The command chamber returned to emergency power. No explosion. No dramatic failure. Only a system reaching the limit imposed by its own design. The Valkyrie disconnected the shield. Her armor recorded the result. Energy reserve reduced. Defensive capacity degraded. She studied the report, then looked back at the archived combat data. A previous assumption had failed. Not because the technology was inferior, because the problem was different. Elias moved toward the damaged power controls. We need another method. The Valkyrie examined the remaining systems. Your method? Elias looked at the broken interface. Not mine. The answer was brief. But it mattered. The tactical display updated. The laser began another targeting sequence. The command level had become visible. Their first solution was gone, and the weapon outside had learned exactly how they tried to survive. The command level had 32 seconds of stable power remaining. Elias knew because the facility kept counting. Not predicting, not estimating, counting. The same systems that had failed them twice were still measuring their survival window. He trusted the numbers. He no longer trusted the assumptions behind them. The shield module remained offline beside the tactical console. Its surface carried the damage pattern from the last laser impact. The system had performed exactly as designed. That was why it failed. Elias opened the combat archive again. The Valkyrie stood beside him, her damaged armor projecting the same data through a different sensor array. Previous engagements appeared across the display. A defense field activated. The weapon adjusted. A countermeasure deployed. The weapon adjusted again. The pattern repeated. Seraphine studied the sequence. It is improving. Elias enlarged the response intervals. No, her helmet turned toward him. He highlighted the changing data. It is learning. The distinction changed the entire model. The weapon was not becoming stronger. It was becoming more informed. Every defensive action created a clearer prediction. Every predictable response became another advantage. The shield had not failed because it lacked power. It had failed because it revealed the behavior of the system protecting them. A vibration moved through the command level. The consoles flickered. Power distribution shifted. Sections of the facility entered emergency mode. The lights above the tactical displays disappeared one by one. Elias moved toward the central power junction. The Valkyrie followed. The shield cannot be used again. Correct. No argument followed. The data had already decided. The laser fired. The impact reached the facility. The command level shifted as the structure absorbed the force. A section of the outer framework separated and drifted into the damaged orbital space beyond the walls. The gravity system corrected unevenly. The floor tilted, then stabilized. Seraphine's sensors tracked the electromagnetic disturbance before the physical movement reached the chamber. The facility was losing another support network. Elias connected to the power controls. The system displayed the remaining options. Most were not solutions. They were exchanges. Life support. Sensors. Movement systems. Every available source had a cost. The Valkyrie accessed the same interface. Her armor attempted to restore military privileges. The system rejected the request. Military authorization unavailable. She closed the failed command channel, then opened local control access. Limited. Functional. Enough. Elias noticed. You lost command access. Her hands continued working. Yes. The answer came through the data. No explanation was needed. The Valkyrie Corps would see the same record later. A commander who returned without authority. A mission altered by an unauthorized decision. A permanent consequence. The laser began another targeting cycle. The facility had become visible. Elias opened the emergency distribution network. An older system appeared. Manual control. Human engineering. Designed before modern automation. The same architecture that had created compatibility problems. The same architecture that still offered a path forward. Seraphine studied the design. It requires physical control. Yes. During impact. Yes. Neither moved. The solution was available. The cost was visible. Elias connected his suit interface to the relay. The system immediately began drawing power. His medical readings changed. Life support efficiency decreased. Motor assistance reduced. His suit was becoming part of the regulator. It was never designed for that role. Seraphine connected her armor to the secondary interface. The first synchronization attempt failed. The second produced unstable output. The third created a temporary link. For 6 seconds. Then the system rejected the combined load. Seraphine examined the failure report. Your hardware cannot support my interface. Your interface is drawing too much. The connection separated before it could damage both systems. Outside, the weapon continued searching. The tactical display updated. The laser was no longer focused on the facility. It was focused on the energy pattern they had created. Elias watched the new calculation. The weapon had not been fooled. It had been given a different variable. The command level lost another power section. The air temperature dropped. The remaining environmental systems reduced output. Frost formed along the exposed sections of the relay chamber. The Valkyrie's armor compensated differently from Elias's suit. Different biology, different engineering. The same problem. Limited time, limited energy, limited choices. The next laser cycle began. Elias checked the relay timing. A narrow transfer window. Too narrow. The system required a stable operator connection when the final energy shift occurred. The feedback would return through the interface. Someone would absorb it. Seraphine saw the calculation. She removed another armor limitation. External defense. Offline. Her remaining systems redirected power into the relay. Elias looked at the change. She continued working. No explanation. No request. The damaged command architecture disappeared from her display. The loss was permanent. The relay chamber opened. Beyond it waited the exposed transfer path. The laser completed its charge. The weapon outside had learned their defenses. Now they had to survive with something it could not predict. The relay chamber opened into darkness. Not empty space. A damaged section of the facility where the outer structure had already failed. The manual distribution path crossed the exposed area, connecting two systems separated by decades of conflict and neglect. Human emergency engineering. Aurelian power architecture. Between them was a narrow maintenance platform. And during a weapon impact, that platform could become a death sentence. Elias scanned the route. Structural readings changed every second. The facility was no longer failing through one major collapse. It was failing through thousands of smaller decisions made by damaged systems. A support lock disengaged. A pressure seal weakened. A power channel overloaded. The environment kept changing. Seraphine connected her armor sensors to the relay. Her display reached the same conclusion. The platform could safely support one operator, not two. She closed the report. Elias saw the change. Capacity. Limited. He looked at the relay. How limited? Enough for one. The answer was technical. The meaning was obvious. The laser outside began another charging sequence. The battlefield beyond the broken facility had changed. Previous impacts had removed most external structures. What remained was exposed framework, drifting debris, and damaged equipment rotating through weak gravity. The command level was the last stable section. For now, Elias moved toward the platform. Seraphine followed. He stopped. Her armor recorded the same problem he already knew. His combat systems were reduced. His movement assistance was unstable. Another failure would not be temporary. Elias connected his terminal. The relay responded. Power demand increased. The system began drawing energy from his suit. His medical readings changed immediately. Life support efficiency reduced. Motor assistance reduced. His suit was never designed to become a power regulator. The relay accepted the input for 3 seconds, then rejected the load. Elias checked the failure. The human system could not communicate fast enough with the Aurelian architecture. The problem was not energy. It was timing. Seraphine moved to the opposite interface. Her armor began translating the Aurelian commands. The first synchronization failed. The second produced unstable output. The third created a temporary connection. A fragile one. The kind of solution that existed only because both systems had already lost their original protections. The laser fired. The impact reached the facility. The relay chamber reacted instantly. The platform shifted. Elias's damaged arm locked for half a second. Half a second was enough. The connection dropped. Power fell. Seraphine's armor compensated automatically. The compensation consumed more energy. The same cycle repeated. A system protecting itself weakened another system. Elias forced his arm interface back online. The actuator responded with reduced precision. Seraphine changed the power distribution. Her armor systems disappeared one by one. Target assistance. Combat stabilization. Command recognition. Each removed function created more available power. Each removal created a permanent loss. The final status appeared. Command architecture unavailable. Restoration impossible. She continued. The relay stabilized. The weapon adjusted outside. The tactical display changed. The laser was no longer focused on the facility. It was focused on the energy pattern they had created. Elias watched the readings. The weapon had not been fooled. It had been given a new variable. That was enough. For now, the relay output increased. The facility began losing environmental stability. The remaining atmosphere circulation dropped. Cold air moved through the exposed sections of the platform. Frost formed along the metal surfaces where thermal control could no longer compensate. Elias's visor displayed declining body temperature. Seraphine's armor displayed the same risk through different biological measurements. Her species regulated heat differently. The danger was the same. The next impact approached. They had no shield, no command support, no reserve system, only a manual connection between two damaged technologies and the people keeping it alive. Elias checked the relay timing. A narrow transfer window. Too narrow. Someone would have to remain connected during the final energy shift. The operator would absorb the feedback. The system had no protective layer left. Seraphine saw the calculation. Her armor marked the available options. None were safe. She removed another limitation. External defense. Offline. The remaining power redirected into the relay. Elias looked at the change. The Valkyrie continued working. No explanation. No request. The failing systems already showed the cost. The relay opened the final transfer channel. The laser completed its charge. The chamber filled with electromagnetic interference. The final phase had begun. And survival required more than understanding the machine. It required deciding who would carry the damage. The relay transfer began. For seconds, the system worked. Then every warning activated. Power instability. Structural collapse. Thermal overload. Operator feedback. The facility could no longer separate one failure from another. Elias watched the numbers change across his visor. The relay accepted the energy. The problem was what happened after. The transfer path was too inefficient. Power became heat. Heat became damage. Nothing disappeared. Everything moved somewhere else. Seraphine adjusted the Aurelian interface. The relay responded. Then the human system rejected the command. The connection failed. Elias reopened the manual controls. His damaged arm moved slower than before. The actuator feedback was delayed. The relay continued drawing power. His suit attempted to compensate. Medical support decreased. Motor assistance decreased. The combat core warning appeared again. This time, there was no recovery cycle. Seraphine saw the status. The same pattern had appeared since the beginning. Elias was turning himself into the missing component. She changed the distribution. The relay accepted the adjustment. Her armor immediately removed another function. External defense. Offline. Combat stabilization. Reduced. Command recognition. Unavailable. The Valkyrie system became lighter and more fragile. The transfer continued. The laser fired. The impact reached the facility. The relay platform shifted beneath them. A section of the maintenance structure separated and drifted into the damaged orbital space outside. The gravity system failed on one side. The platform tilted. Elias lost his footing. His damaged arm caught the relay support. The impact traveled through the mechanical interface. The actuator locked. The system displayed the failure. Permanent damage. Elias looked at the relay, then at the exposed transfer path. The old calculation returned. Remove one variable. Accept the damage. Make the system simpler. The calculation was correct. That was why it was dangerous. Seraphine saw the command forming on his interface. She interrupted it. Not with force. With a different solution. The relay numbers changed. Feedback levels increased. The system was approaching failure. Elias looked at her. You cannot keep that connection. Seraphine adjusted the secondary interface. Her armor displayed the remaining options. None were safe. She changed the feedback distribution. The relay accepted both operators. The overload moved through two damaged systems instead of destroying one. The cost increased. So did the chance. The laser adapted again. The weapon outside continued operating. It had not been defeated. It had not lost power. It had lost the pattern it expected. The relay chamber filled with electromagnetic interference. External sensors disappeared. The facility became a collection of failing signals. Only the relay remained. Elias monitored the transfer. The numbers approached the limit. His combat core reached final shutdown. The system that had corrected his movements for years disconnected permanently. His left arm became still. Seraphine's armor reached critical failure. The command network attempted restoration. There was nothing left to restore. Her authority was gone. Her armor continued with local functions only. The final transfer completed. The energy pattern shifted. The laser path changed. Not because they controlled the weapon, because the conditions around the target had changed. The beam moved away from the command level and into the empty structure beyond. The facility survived. Barely. The relay shut down. Elias collapsed against the platform. Seraphine's armor locked her position before she fell. Neither system returned to normal. Neither person recovered what had been lost. The battlefield remained silent. The weapon remained active. The damage remained. But the command level was still standing. And the choice that kept it alive could never be reversed. The weapon did not stop. That was the first thing Elias confirmed. The adaptive laser platform remained active beyond the damaged facility. Its energy signature continued shifting across the battlefield, searching through broken structures and abandoned systems. It had not been defeated. It had only lost the pattern it expected. The relay chamber was still failing. Elias opened his eyes. The emergency display above him showed incomplete data. Power distribution unstable. External structure critical. Operator systems damaged. The final transfer had protected the command level. It had not protected them. His left arm remained motionless. The combat core was gone. The support system that had corrected his movements, monitored his condition, and kept him functional through years of damage no longer responded. The medical interface confirmed the loss. Permanent. Elias disconnected the remaining cables from his suit. The relay released him. Across the chamber, Seraphine's armor unlocked one section at a time. Most systems stayed offline. Her command architecture remained unavailable. The loss was already recorded. A commander who returned without authority would answer for that. A commander who abandoned strategic priority to save a human soldier would answer for even more. The consequences had already begun. The emergency beacon transmitted through the damaged network. Not a military channel. Not a priority signal. A survival system built for situations where everything else failed. The response was slow. The battlefield was still unstable. The facility could not provide a clean identification, and rescue systems still had to obey their own limitations. Elias checked the remaining routes. The command level had minutes before secondary collapse. Seraphine moved toward the exit. Her armor calculated the safest path. Movement possible. Elias stood. The first attempt failed. His body expected assistance that no longer existed. The second attempt worked. Slower. Less precise. He adjusted his balance. Seraphine noticed the change. She changed her own movement pattern. Her armor redistributed weight support to compensate for his reduced mobility. A technical adjustment. Nothing more. But it mattered. They moved through the damaged corridor. The station had changed again. The earlier impacts had removed the outer structures. Now the remaining systems were shutting down in sequence. Emergency lights disappeared behind them. Sections of the corridor entered preservation mode. The facility was no longer trying to recover. It was deciding what it could still maintain. They reached the maintenance junction. The emergency beacon strengthened. A rescue vessel had detected them. The incoming message arrived incomplete. 2 survivors identified. Unknown battlefield event. Requesting verification. Seraphine accessed the transmission. Her armor recognized the source. Aurelian. The next message carried a priority instruction. Recover strategic data first. Personnel recovery second. She read it. Then closed the channel. Elias looked at the interface. You were supposed to answer. I did. He checked the transmission record. No response had been sent. Seraphine continued toward the exit. The decision was visible in the systems around her. She had not erased the order. She had chosen not to follow it. The rescue vessel arrived 27 minutes later. Its sensors scanned the battlefield. The results were difficult to classify. The adaptive laser platform remained operational. The facility remained damaged. The survivors remained alive. The initial analysis found no conventional defense system that explained the outcome. Then the relay data arrived. The explanation was less impressive and more difficult. 2 damaged systems. 2 incompatible technologies. 2 operators making decisions under conditions where every advantage created another weakness. The report did not describe victory. It described survival. That distinction would matter. The investigation began before they reached the station. Human officials questioned why an Aurelian commander had been inside a restricted battlefield zone. Aurelian officials questioned why a human soldier had accessed classified infrastructure. Both sides had evidence. Neither side had the complete record. The battlefield logs provided the missing details. Sensors recorded Elias entering the collapse zone before he knew Seraphine's identity. They recorded him diverting limited resources toward an unknown life signal. They recorded Seraphine sacrificing command architecture during the final transfer. They recorded the exact moment when both operators accepted permanent losses to keep the other alive. No speech changed the record. No argument changed the measurements. The data remained, and the data would have consequences. The first hearing lasted 6 hours. The second lasted 14. The third was delayed because 3 different committees could not agree on which part of the battlefield record mattered most. That was how the truth moved through civilization. Slowly, not as a signal, as evidence. Elias Voss sat in a medical review chamber with his damaged arm resting beside him. The replacement systems restored basic movement. They did not restore what had been lost. The technicians had been clear. The combat core was beyond recovery. The neural interface damage was permanent. Elias accepted the report the same way he accepted any failed machine. Understand the limitation. Adapt. Continue. Across the station, Seraphine faced a different kind of damage. Her armor functioned. Her body recovered. Her command status did not. The Valkyrie core investigation reached a difficult conclusion. Her actions had saved 2 lives. Her actions had also compromised a strategic objective. Both statements remained in the official record. Neither could be removed. Seraphine entered the coalition review chamber without her command insignia. Everyone noticed. Some considered it punishment. Others considered it proof that the system still held commanders accountable. Seraphine presented the complete battlefield record. Every decision, every failure, every loss, including her own. The report did not create agreement. It created arguments. Some officials claimed the incident proved humans were too unpredictable for stable alliances. Others argued that existing systems had failed because they were built around assumptions that no longer matched reality. Neither side disappeared. The debate continued. Months passed. The battlefield became an investigation site. The adaptive laser platform remained under analysis. Engineers from both civilizations studied the same data. They reached different conclusions. Some focused on the weapon. Some focused on the failed defenses. Some focused on the 2 operators who remained inside the relay chamber after every automated solution had reached its limit. The measurements became the hardest part to ignore. Human actions had been recorded by Aurelian sensors. Not interpreted. Recorded. The suit telemetry showed Elias entering the collapse zone before identifying the trapped individual as an enemy commander. The rescue data showed him redirecting limited resources toward an unknown life signal. The relay logs showed Seraphine sacrificing command architecture during the final transfer. The record showed the exact moment when both operators accepted permanent losses to keep the other alive. No speech changed the evidence. No argument changed the measurements. The data remained. A year later, Elias returned to a civilian engineering station near the frontier. The work was different. No battlefield. No military orders. Only damaged equipment waiting for repair. A broken regulator did not ask why it failed. A damaged system did not carry old conflicts. Machines were easier. Seraphine arrived one evening with a technician's access badge instead of a command insignia. She placed a data module beside his repair station. Elias looked at it. Maintenance request? System review. He connected the module. The file contained old facility records. The same records that had changed both of their lives. They worked in the same room. Not because the past had disappeared, because it had not. Trust remained something built through repeated choices. Not something granted because 2 people survived the same event. Outside the station, human and Aurelian vessels continued moving through the same territory. Some crews exchanged information. Some refused. Some remembered the old conflict more than the new evidence. The galaxy did not become peaceful overnight. It became more complicated. That was the beginning. Years later, the battlefield archive remained available to anyone with clearance. The final record was not a victory report. It contained no enemy defeat, no technological triumph, only a sequence of decisions made under impossible conditions. A damaged human soldier had stepped between a weapon and someone who was supposed to be his enemy. An alien Valkyrie had surrendered the authority she valued to keep another life from being lost. Neither action erased the cost. Neither repaired the damage. The losses remained. So did the choice. And that was why the record endured. Thank you for staying with this story until the end. If you were in Elias and Seraphine's place, would you sacrifice your own future to save someone who was once your enemy? Share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Galactic Contact for more stories from beyond the stars.